Why would an ancient civilization spend so much time recording names? Generations, bloodlines, fathers and sons, kings and tribes repeated endlessly across fragile pages. To modern readers, it feels unnecessary. But ancient people understood something we have forgotten. A civilization does not truly die when its cities fall. It dies when its memory disappears, and the Book of Chronicles was written during a moment when an entire people feared being erased from history itself. Welcome to Code of Scripture. This afternoon, we enter First Book of Chronicles. At first glance, it appears to be a record of names and forgotten genealogies, but beneath the surface, Chronicles is something much deeper, a warning about identity, a battle against cultural amnesia, and an attempt to preserve meaning after collapse, because when kingdoms fall, memory becomes the final battlefield. Chronicles was written after devastation. The kingdom had fractured, Jerusalem had fallen, the temple had been destroyed, exile scattered the people across foreign lands, and after catastrophe comes a terrifying question: who are we now? This is why the text begins with genealogies, not because ancient writers loved lists, but because memory was survival. The names were anchors, a way of saying we still exist. We remember who we are. We have not completely disappeared. Modern culture often treats identity as temporary, flexible, disposable, reinvented constantly. But ancient civilizations believed identity connected generations across time. The names in Chronicles are not random. They form a chain, a continuity stretching from Book of Genesis through kings, prophets, wars, failures, and exile. The message is subtle but powerful. Collapse becomes permanent only when memory is severed. And perhaps this explains why modern systems move so quickly, why attention spans shrink, why history dissolves into fragments, why people lose connection to origins, because disconnected people become easier to reshape. Imagine the atmosphere surrounding Chronicles, scribes sitting beside candlelight, ancient records partially destroyed, fragments of identity scattered after national collapse. The writers were doing more than recording history. They were rebuilding continuity. This is important because every empire eventually attempts to control memory. Some erase books, others rewrite narratives. Others overwhelm societies with distraction until remembrance fades naturally. But Chronicles resists forgetting. It insists that even after destruction, the thread still exists. And perhaps that is why the text repeats itself so often. Because humanity repeats itself just as often, Chronicles revisits many of the same kings and events found in earlier scripture. But now the perspective has changed. The writers are looking backward through the ruins, and from that perspective, patterns become clearer. Pride repeats, corruption repeats, warnings repeat, collapse repeats. The kings believed power would preserve them, but only memory endured. This may be the hidden message of Chronicles. Civilizations obsess over expansion, while neglecting preservation of meaning itself, and once meaning disappears, decline accelerates quietly. Today, humanity stores memory digitally. Cloud servers, algorithms, search engines, artificial archives. But something strange is happening. People possess more information than any civilization in history, while remembering less deeply. Moments vanish instantly into endless streams, attention fractures, identity fragments. History becomes compressed into trends, and perhaps this is why Chronicles feels unexpectedly modern, because it asks a question that still matters now. What happens to a people when they lose continuity with their past? Not just historical facts, but meaning. The Book of Chronicles is not merely history. It is resistance against erasure, a civilization standing in the aftermath of collapse and declaring, "We will remember." The names mattered because memory mattered, and memory mattered because identity survives only when its story survives with it. Because once a people forget themselves, someone else begins writing the story for them. This was Code of Scripture, 1 Chronicles The Book of Remembrance, and perhaps the most powerful form of survival, is refusing to forget who you are.